How you doing, Mitchell?
Mitchell
Gentlemen, how
Butler.
are you?
How
What's
you
going
doing?
on? I'm great.
Good.
How are you guys?
We're all
Doing
right.
great.
We're hanging in there. This is my friend Rob. I've known him for like 10 years.
How you doing,
Rob,
Mitchell?
pleasure, man. I'm doing great. How about yourself, man?
Great, and we're so glad to have you on, man.
So
Thank you.
glad.
Sorry, I couldn't grab any of the other guys. Toby Bailey and Tracy Murray are both traveling. They're en route to Indianapolis.
Hey, you know what? I should have went.
That's awesome.
You could have got me a ticket.
Yeah, gosh. These tickets are going for like $4,000.
Are they really?
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh.
That's
Like,
unbelievable.
Well, they letting in like a couple thousand people.
yeah, it's I think it's a third of capacity. Indiana has pretty strict laws as well regarding masking and a number of people allowed in a venue. So it's it's not full at all. So
That's terrible. It's
yeah.
terrible what's happened to all of us,
Yeah, it's
Okay.
you would have never imagined this, but let's go at it.
You got that right. Tell us about the tournament and what you think.
Wow, this has been truly March Madness.
Yeah.
I think from the very get-go, you just you saw some incredible upsets. Abilene Christian,
Right.
UCLA, pretty much all the way through.
We're rolling.
And we're rolling, man. We're rolling.
Yeah.
And then you've seen some other shockers along the way. Loyola of Chicago,
Yeah.
obviously, really well coached team.
Yeah.
I think it probably shouldn't be as much of a shocker to people because a lot of the schools that are winning have the majority of their starting lineup with the majority of their minutes being played by guys that are juniors and seniors.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a lot of your blue blood schools, they're relying heavily on these one and done kids, and they're talented, they're gifted enough to play at the next level, but you still need time, and time is your best friend in any situation, whether you're on a collegiate level or on the NBA level.
Yeah, it sure is. I mean, my brother and I talk about this all the time. A lot of the players that stay in college longer, unless you're a superstar, and they're few and far between, they do better in the NBA. And by the way, everybody, Mitchell was in the NBA with Washington and Portland, and he was a great player at UCLA. I still remember you dunking on Florida State and Sam Cassell at the end of the game in Madison Square Garden. I was there.
At the Garden.
Yes,
It was
sir.
a good game.
Yes, sir.
Fractured my wrist, fractured my hand that
That's
game.
right.
Actually.
That's right. But you were you were amazing, and it was so much fun. You had me scared though. I was so nervous. That game was so close. I wanted to win so bad.
It was a good game.
It was a great game.
I remember that. Yeah.
It was a
Seton
great
Hall
game.
and Florida State. That was good.
Yes.
Now, were you on an Elite Eight squad?
I was on the Elite Eight squad my junior year. We had an uber talented squad. That year we had 10 players off of that squad play in the NBA at some point during their careers. I think it's the most off of any one team. There have been obviously some great Illinois teams, Michigan teams that have fielded a top 6 or top 7 guys, but we had 10 players off of that team at some point playing the NBA. Let me see if I can name them. Don McLean, Tracy Murray, Gerald Mackins, Derek Martin, myself, Ed O'Bannon, Tyus Sedney, George Zedick, Rodney Zimmerman, and Richard Petruska was a walk-on. Was a red shirt. So
right.
So I mean, you guys were legit contenders. You totally could have won it all.
We should have. We played Indiana in the Tip-Off Classic that year.
I was there.
Springfield, and we clobbered them by 30 points.
That's what I told Rob the other day.
Yeah, we were unranked. I think they were top 5, and we massacred them.
Right.
And then we play them again in the Elite Eight, and they massacre us. They beat us by 30.
Right. Knight got
we got caught up in it.
Right. Knight got us back. I do remember that. I was up there. I went up there for that game.
Yeah.
It was so great. You guys clobbered them.
Yeah, it was a good game.
And they actually wanted Kentucky to play us. Did you know that? But Kentucky turned it down because they wanted the 2 top championship, the most championship teams playing it because it was 100 years anniversary of basketball. But they turned it down. Yeah. Wow. And Indiana was 3rd on that list. So we just asked Indiana and they said yes.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's true, actually.
It was a great game. Tip-Off Classic. That was awesome.
Yeah. So what do you see coming up this weekend?
Well, I think that it's a tall task for UCLA. I've watched Gonzaga very closely all year long. They've got 4 guys that will go in the first round. Uh, they're a machine. They can play fast. They can play slow. They can play big. They can play small. They defend well. UCLA would have to catch them on a really bad day of shooting, and UCLA is just blazing hot to win this game. I think it's a tall order. Now we're live and we're being recorded, and this can be played back after UCLA beats them.
It's okay. We can edit everything out. We can edit everything out.
Exactly.
That's
I
so
love
racist.
have the egg just dripping from my face, would be awesome. But
it's that simple. This show never happened if that happens.
Right.
Pretty much.
It's a tall order for UCLA. I mean, what Gonzaga did to USC was just criminal.
It really was.
USC's length and size, I thought was really going to be a problem.
I thought the same thing. I thought they were going to be at minimum competitive right there and possibly win. And I was shocked to see them get blown out.
Oh, yeah, it was really a one-sided match. Go ahead.
You know what, Mitch? I talked to Rob about this before that game. And, I said, I thought Oregon would have had a better shot. And he goes, oh, no, SC. I just think Oregon would have, because they have a great coach. They're really athletic, and maybe they could have frustrated them a little bit on defense. But you know what? The way Gonzaga played, they would have beat anybody.
I don't know. So, I mean, I'm thinking maybe Baylor, but I've seen some chinks in the armor with Baylor. And, they have toughness at the guard position, which makes Baylor a tough out. I think any team that wins the tournament, you have to have strong guard play. If you don't have strong guard play, you've never heard of a team probably since, and I mean, even if you go back to Walton and Kareem's days, they still had strong guard play.
They did.
But you got to have people that can handle that pressure, that can handle those moments, and can get the ball to, your key players in the offensive scheme. If you can't do that, you're really at a disadvantage. And, Gonzaga has that. Baylor has that. UCLA's is pretty good. Tiger Campbell's really good, and Houston is solid too. But in the other match, I see it could. That's a toss up. Houston has some really grimy players that will muddy up the game, and
you never know what's coming with them.
Yeah, it's kind of I think that one's a toss up for me. I wouldn't want to count them out, but I think everyone would love to see Baylor and Gonzaga go at it in the finals.
You know what, Mitch? I still think the game's won down low. I just don't think they use the centers enough. Did you think SC had good enough guards to pull that? They had the big man, that's for sure.
Well, that's the problem, But again, their bigs don't play big. As talented as Evan Mobley is, and I love him, he doesn't assert himself over the game like he should with the talent that he has. As good as he is, he should be touching the ball every time down. He should be
I agree with that.
Team, and he should be facilitating for his teammates. The offense should run through him once you get into your offensive sets.
Right.
And it doesn't enough. He still finished with 17 and 8 or something like that. It was a nice night, but
destroyed.
His coach should have said, hey, you got to shoot 25, 30 times for us to win in this game. That's how it's got to be. You're our best player. You're the best player on the floor by far on both teams. You got to go and you got to do it.
Right.
And
it didn't happen. I think today UCLA has to hope for like a Villanova Georgetown thing where they just make every shot and Ewing loses.
That's pretty much what it is.
It's
one of those really weird, funky situations where you're just like, I don't know what happened here. Something really strange is going on. You walk into these games sometimes and it's foggy. As a player, it happened to us when we lost to Penn State the year before we went to the Elite Eight in the opening round. And we were playing in the Dome in New York.
Yeah,
and,
Syracuse. I was there.
Yeah, and
wow,
we were just we were in a fog. We could not get out of our own way, and Penn State made every shot, and that momentum and that wave that they were riding, it's tough to overcome. Then my senior year, we almost did it to Michigan.
Yeah,
in the
you
round
should
of
have too.
yeah,
And you
yeah,
should have too.
in the round of 32. We
Mhm.
played great. We caught a wave,
Mhm.
and they weren't playing quite as well. And we had them at the end of regulation. If Tyus maybe pulls up and shoot a little bank shot on the
My
steal,
my brother just told me that yesterday again.
yeah, it was so crazy. He had won
Yeah,
like 7 games for us that year. He was
I know it.
phenomenal,
I know.
and we had him. But those situations happen in tournament play, and that's why March Madness is by far and away to me the best sports spectacle that you get throughout the year. People can talk about the run to the Super Bowl. People can talk about the run to the NBA Finals. They can talk about the World Series. March Madness is really a whole other level. It is. It's just
Exciting. It's
you can't.
unbelievable.
I mean, Warren Buffett puts up $1 million every year. It says if someone picks it properly all the
Right.
way through,
Right.
get $1 million.
Right.
And
And
no one's come close.
no one's come close. No one.
And not to stir up, sorry, Bob, not to stir up any really bad memories, but what's it like to lose in the tournament? It just seems it's just so brutal and just heart wrenching.
It is. It's draining, because especially that last 30 seconds or so when if you're not in the game and it's over.
Well, a lot of the kids cry. It's definitely,
you're depleted. I don't know if you saw the women's game yesterday, but
did Connecticut lose? They were down by 10 at halftime.
Yeah, they lost.
They lost, really.
They lost at the buzzer.
Wow. I did not know that.
The young lady goes down and shoots a runner on the left side. She shot it with her right hand. It rolls off the rim, and her teammate comes for the putback, and it's just a smidgen too hard. It hits the back of the rim.
Oh, no.
And you think it's going to go in, and it just rolls off. And she is just crying so much. And then even the Stanford players came. I mean, not the Stanford, the Arizona. No, it was the Stanford players.
No, it was Arizona.
No, it was Arizona players. Yeah, the Arizona players came over and gave her a hug. They were just
that right?
It was just it was gut wrenching. You were just like, wow, that's just tough.
No, it's really tough, and I mean, it's so emotional. I mean, they're all kids, pretty much, and and when we're kids, we're a lot more into it and emotional, and it hurts a lot.
People don't.
It hurts a lot.
Yeah, it can. It hurts a ton. You're just like you're looking at the clock, and you're in. Especially if you're a senior, you're realizing it's all over now. You've gotta move on, and you're gonna miss the guys, the coaching staff. Everything that you've been working for 4 years, 5 years. It's come to an end.
And people don't realize that they don't think about it, at least, that of the 68 teams, 67 end with a loss. Their season ends with a loss.
67 do. I mean,
that's just the way it goes.
Yeah, there's only going to be one team standing at the end of the day.
One team happy at the end of the day.
Raising the trophy, yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think? UCLA, this should help them recruiting-wise, right?
I think the biggest thing that's going to help them recruiting-wise is that they switched over to Grant Jordan. That's huge.
Right.
Under Armour, God bless their soul. They were really trying to make a big splash.
Yeah.
Really out west, I think. Because I think they had Cal under contract as well. They had a couple of schools out west. And being an East Coast company, they were trying to make an imprint on the West, and to pull that contract, probably was the biggest blessing to UCLA because Martin Jarman coming in, the new AD, striking a deal with Grant Jordan, that puts you in the EYBL Nike circuit.
Right. Right. My brother said that's going to help us because we're in Nike.
It's going to be great. Now you're getting a different category because the EYBL is by far and away the superior AAU circuit than Adidas Nations and Under Armour. Now, every now and again, Adidas Nations and Under Armour will feature a top player. I think Under Armour a couple of years back, they had Markelle Fultz, who was a part of their program, and then Adidas might have had Zion, as a part of theirs. But even though that was the situation, Zion still ended up choosing a Nike school in Duke. So it does expose you to a better group of players. And, as much as we don't like to talk about it, these shoe companies do have a way of influencing kids to stick with the brand loyalty. And
absolutely they do.
Choose schools that are, their branded school.
Yeah. I mean, that's that. I just talked to Tony the other day, and he said Nike's going to help us a lot. It's definitely going to get the kids in. Yeah. Yeah.
See, I didn't realize there was that kind of interconnectivity between the shoe companies and these AAU
Oh,
circuits. When I just hear them, like, oh, they just switched to shoe company. How is that going to help so much?
oh, it does.
Well, Robert, you make an interesting point here that I'd like just to point out. I think when people look at these entities are all intertwined, and it's one reason why they can't fail. The NBA, the NFL, Major League Baseball, they're all intertwined. They're intertwined with TV, they're intertwined with radio, they're intertwined with sports drinks, sports apparel. There's so many interconnectivities that are there that if one falls, the domino affects all of the other ones in an extreme and a
Yeah.
massive way.
Right.
So you really cannot have that happen. And to preserve those things, you know, really politics starts to get involved and
Hmm.
they really start driving in and trying to preserve that. You're seeing it right now with the NC2A and the cases that they're going up against for name, image, and likeness. Um,
Yeah.
the players want to be able to make money off their name, image, and likeness, and the NC2A is trying to figure out how to do that while keeping the playing field level for all of the various member institutions, and they're just worried that it'll be the wild, wild west if they just completely open it up, and you get big boosters like we have one at UCLA, Casey Wasserman, who is just awesome. He's been great to the school. Could he come in? And I doubt that he would do this. I don't think he would do this. Come in and say to Zion, hey, we'll give you a $10 million promotional deal for, Wasserman Media Group if you come to UCLA. The NCAA just wants to make sure that those things aren't happening. But, everyone knows that the NC2A is such a big institution. It employs a number of people that it's too big to fail. You can't have it fail, or you got to have
Yeah.
something that you're going to replace it with that's going to be pretty amazing.
Right. So you're an agent now. Who do you have
Yes.
underneath you?
Gosh, I've had the privilege and the honor of representing Dwight Howard, Drew Holiday, Avery
Oh,
Bradley,
wow.
Tony Snell, Josh
Get-
Eustace.
Get Drew on our show. It'll help it.
Dwight Howard,
Drew's
too.
awesome. I don't have them right now. Those guys are with other agents and agencies, but I've had the pleasure of working with those guys. Awesome human beings, awesome individuals. You guys know,
Yeah.
awesome basketball players. Currently, right now, I just have Jordan McLaughlin with the Minnesota Timberwolves. We're here in Indianapolis recruiting, trying to, have a little FaceTime with a couple of families as they think about making decisions. Some of these kids are underclassmen and some are graduating. So, but it's an interesting industry and field. I've been in sports, playing and coaching for,
Years. Yeah.
30 years or so. And every day was just the humdrum of a day. You just wake up, you do the same routine over and over and over again. And being an agent, I get to experience different types of days. Some are great, some are stressful, but at the end of the day, it's all fun.
That's
So I'm
great.
just wondering, how much of a disadvantage is a player, a potential professional player at if they don't either have an agent or have a quality agent?
I think you're at a disadvantage, and not just because I'm an agent. I just think that there are so many things that we do that they don't understand or they don't know. The good agents, at least, if you've got your hand on the pulse of the team, the situation, it's definitely something that could be of an advantage to your client. I try to watch all my clients' games. I try to give them inside input. I try to understand the system that the team is running. I try to understand the defensive schemes that they're running. I try to see if that is best for my client. I try to navigate and try to find, ways for my client to get to the floor. And once they get to the floor and they do something that the team definitely needs and must have, then they have the opportunity to be able to expand their game. And I'll give you a good case point. Avery Bradley, when I had him, I got him as a
Ex-Celtic.
first-year guy, coming out of Texas. And, the first thing I said to him, I said, listen, you got to look at the name on the front of your jersey, not the name on the back, because it's going to freak you out. Because you're going to see Pierce, Allen, Garnett, Rondo. These are guys you grew up watching. You were in middle school and high school, and you were watching them. do their thing. And you probably, some of these guys were probably idols of yours. You cannot approach it that way. These are your peers now. You have to step on the floor that way. And in year one, he did it, and he didn't play very much. Then year two, we decided, hey, listen, how are you going to get to the floor? It's not going to be by scoring, which is what you did in Texas. You got 3 guys on this team that have over 24,000 career points. And there's like 50 guys that have ever played the NBA that have that many points. Right. So you're not going to come in and take the ball away from them and score. You're a great defender. You're an elite defender. That's what you have to do. And
that's what he did. He was a great defender.
And that's what he did. And I remember he called me. He said, listen, I want you to trade it. I flew out the next day. I said, I'm with Danny Ainge. And I said, listen, Danny, we can call it a bad situation. And just, I get you an asset for Avery, but, let us look somewhere else. And he said, Mitch, I cannot trade him without first seeing him for 20 to 25 games with 20 minutes a night. And lo and behold, like maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks later, Ray Allen goes down with a high ankle sprain. Right. And the logical choice to put in the lineup would be Keon Doolin. This is a championship caliber team. You just slide over your most veteran guy. But I believe Danny and Doc talked, and they decided to start Avery. And Avery told Doc Rivers, the first game was against Orlando. He goes, hey, I'm going to pick Jameer Nelson up full court the whole game. And Doc kind of brushes him off. Yeah. And goes, no, Doc, the whole game. And if you guys pull the tape of that game, I believe it was 2012, maybe 2013, it was ugly. I mean, Avery put so much pressure on Jameer. It was bad. He may have stolen the ball 3 or 4 times. He had a couple of 10-second
He was
counts.
Tough with that.
Yeah, it was bad. And it was so bad that Jameer walked out at halftime. And this is the cherry on the top of the story. And he walks over to Avery and he says to Avery, hey, can I just get the ball over half court? And Avery looks at him and goes, I got to eat, bro. You got to eat. And that was it. So, it's understanding what your role is on a team. And Avery was able to do that, and then it opened up for him.
I'm actually a Celtic fan. They're my favorite team of all time. I grew up loving them. Okay. Would you please tell Danny to get a nice big center? Like, he should have got Davis. Why didn't he do it? We had so many draft picks. We could have done it. We could have gave it to them.
Yeah, it's hard. They do have a lot of assets. Danny is probably one of the brightest GMs out there. He really understands talent. He really understands gelling, and he understands coaching. He has his hands on the pulse of the team.
He understands draft picks, that's for sure.
Yeah. And when you accumulate these assets, you have to be very smart with them. I think he and Sam Presti are probably 2 of the smartest with them. I think they accumulate them, and then they turn them over into good things. Sam Presti did it the first time and ended up with Jeff Green, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and James Harden. Like, that's ridiculous. That's a ridiculous amount of talent to pull in because you're able to maneuver and do the right things and set yourself up. And you have to have a little bit of luck as well. With Danny in Boston, the big is gone by the wayside, guys. As much as you want to believe that they are critical and they're important to you winning, Anthony Davis is a hybrid. He's a big that can step out on the floor, can pull you outside, can shoot.
I always thought, right now, he's outside of LeBron, he's the best player in the league. And I guess LeBron felt the same way because he took him, he got him in there.
Yeah, no, he's definitely one of the top players in the league.
Right. And I'm big on big men. I like big men. I'm kind of old fashioned that way. I understand you need good guards. I get it. But I understand.
Well, it's not a matter of even needing good guards. The way they play the game now, they play it at pace. And they want a shot up every 8 to 10 seconds. And they prefer that shot to be a 3-point shot.
I don't, but I know they do. It's killing. I think it's terrible. 5-on-1, you 3 guys pulling up from 3. Like, what are you doing?
It's just a different game now from when we played.
That's true.
Big man was your anchor. Now you got Jokic, you've got Nurkic,
he's great.
Giannis, you got all of these guys they're not really bigs, they're hybrids. They can, even Joel Embiid, who's a prototypical big, he steps out on the perimeter. He shoots a lot of threes. Karl Anthony Towns shoots a lot of threes. I mean, it's so hard.
We were kids, the center wouldn't think about doing that.
Yeah, to have, that type of play. Now, if I coached, I would go back to the traditional. And
there you go, Mitch. I agree with you.
And I extend my defense out, and I make all threes contested, and you're going to beat me with 2s. That's what it's going to be.
Right. I mean, and honestly, 2s go in more because the percentage is higher to make them. When you're closer to the basket, the closer you get.
Yeah,
And I don't.
but it's an analytics, it's a mathematics thing because if you
I
make
think they got their
30
analytics backwards sometimes.
but if you
Sometimes.
make 33% of your threes, that's the equivalent of you making 50% of your twos. And if you're shooting,
But if you
38,
get,
thirty-nine,
but if you
40%,
get layups and 3-footers or 5-footers, those things go in a lot.
they do go in a lot, but how often do you get those? It's if you go back to our day when we played, there were very few players that shot 50% or more, especially in the
Well,
NBA.
the
Most
big,
people were somewhere between
well,
46 and 50.
but
You
the
know,
big men shot around 50, like the centers did around the
yeah,
basket.
the big man. But I mean, if you're going two for three, and they're shooting 33% or better, they're going to be right there with you. Now, if
Mm.
you extend your defense up and you can suck that number down to 28,
Well, you could do that.
29%, now you're in the game and you're winning. If you're on the offensive end and you're clipping your shots up, but if they frown on the long 2-point shot, the 18-footer, they don't want it. They want 3-point
Crazy.
shot at the rim or free throw line. Those are the three areas they want to see you score from.
Yeah. You know what? I still think that they should play it like they did when the 3-point line got in the league. It's like a glass case, only open it when there's an emergency, a fire emergency.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that they should run it through the middle. And then when you absolutely need it, you do that.
Well, it's going to take a special coach to come along. You almost saw it last year with Miami. Miami did it a little bit more
Yeah.
unconventional. They shot the long two. If they made the long two, they were happy with it. They defended. They defended to the 3-point line. They pressed out. And they tried to get teams to beat them with twos. They just ran up against a Laker team that was capable of beating them with twos. And
Right. See, down low.
those
Davis.
guys, they were
Davis.
long. Yeah, they really couldn't handle it. And then you had the injury bug going on with Miami as well, with Goran Dragic and
Sure. Well, injuries play it.
players.
And Boston lost. They probably should have won. They shouldn't have lost to Miami. They were better. They were a higher seed.
Yeah.
And they end up getting upset. But you know what? What do you think about the coaches today?
I like a good number of them, but I think I like outliers. I like people that want to do it their own way. I love Pat Riley because Pat Riley was Pat Riley. I love Jerry Sloan because Jerry Sloan was Jerry Sloan. I love Popovich because Popovich is Popovich. They have their system. They have their style. Sure. That's how they're going to play. Phil Jackson, that's how they're going to play. I think that those types of coaches win. Quinn Snyder right now is building his resume towards that. Hey, this is how we're going to play, and this is why we're going to win. And if you have a recipe that works, I remember when I played for the Cleveland Cavaliers, Mike Fratello would come in and he would say, okay, here's the deal. If we can have the team shoot 41, 42% from the floor, if we have 14 plus assists in the game, if we have less than 6 or 7 turnovers, and we shoot this percentage from the floor, we win. And he comes in at halftime, he puts the numbers up on the board, and we see if we're at those numbers or not.
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, if we hit those numbers, we won the game. And you have to have that type of philosophy, that type of approach. And you have to really simplify it that much for your players, because your players can now understand what they're effectively going out and trying to achieve versus just going out and playing basketball and thinking that you're going to win. When you get to the bad teams, the things that you know is about the bad teams will be in the game for 3.5 quarters. They lose the game from 6 minutes on because the good teams know how to turn it up, know how to make sure they're going to get a good shot, reduce their turnovers. Their effective field goal percentage goes up probably by 10 or 15 percentage points at that time of the game. So you can see it. I mean, the bad teams, Minnesota Timberwolves, they're going to be there for 3.5 quarters, and then they're going to lose the last 6
Hey,
minutes.
You know what's funny about that, Mitch? I talked to my brother because we're big baseball fans as well, So, like growing up, my brother would always tell me, you would think you'd have the Yankees beat, and for 8 innings you would, but then the 9th inning came and you lost. And that's pretty much what it is. It's the difference between, really good teams and really teams that aren't so good. It's like night and day. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, just you guys, when you start watching these games, just look at that. You can even see it in football.
You can.
Football
I can. I can.
Football.
Yeah.
You watch Kansas City. You watch New England when Tom Brady was there. Like, they'd be going back and forth, and then they'd even let a team go down and score.
Yeah.
And if they knew they had 2 minutes on the clock, you already knew it was too much time.
There's too much time.
If you got up by 10, if you get up by 10 on Kansas City, you're done.
Yeah,
That seems to be the way it goes.
It's they know how to turn it up. They know how to become more efficient. They just and that's what you see across the board in sports, and certainly in basketball. It's very evident. You look at the teams that are struggling; they're in games for 3.5 quarters, and then boom, the better
That's
team
right.
delivers a knockout blow
That's
because
right.
they buy into their system, what their
You buy
coaches
into the
want,
system.
and they do. The bad teams, they don't have a system. It's just players going out and playing. They're young. They don't know what they're doing. And the
There's too many.
philosophy
There's too
just
much of
isn't
that
there.
going around.
Right.
Yeah, there really is. I totally agree with that. But yeah, we're actually going to try to get Andy Reid on and Rick Burkholder, because Rick's the trainer and my brother and Rick are really good friends.
Oh, wow.
So they gave me a number. So we're gonna, of course, the big goal is Mahomes. We want him on.
Oh, yeah, that would be awesome. But
that would be awesome.
Having Andy Reid on, I mean, gosh, he's probably one of the greatest minds in sport.
Yeah.
Today coaching,
Yeah.
he's phenomenal. And even his offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy is pretty awesome too.
Darn right he is.
Yeah,
Darn right.
the creativity that those guys bring to a football game is it's special.
They make it fun when you're a viewer, because you actually, I mean, even if you have another team, like you go out and watch all the football games at once at a bar, when they're on, everybody kind of like forgets about their team for a couple of minutes just to see what Mahomes is going to do. That's how great he is. That's how great
he's the best quarterback I've ever seen. And Tom Brady is pretty freaking special. But this guy,
you got that right. Yeah,
has every throw in the book.
He's throwing no look passes like he's a guard.
He does everything. He has a flick of the wrist here, flick of the wrist there.
Oh yeah.
Tom Brady is your prototypical stand in the pocket quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
He's uber smart in that he knows how to play the defense. He sucks them in with those little dump passes, and then boom, as soon as he gets the linebackers up on the line, he can play now to the middle center of the field, and then he gets those safeties coming up because they're dumping everything low, and boom, he hits the home run shot with any one of his receivers that can go long. It's a fantastic strategy.
Yeah,
I like to watch sports for that. I don't really, I like to watch sports for the strategy of the game rather than
absolutely. I'm a chess player, so I get it.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, that's the fun part. And my brother and I, we talk about it almost every night on the phone. And every once in a while, I'll have a good point. Most of the time, it's him. But every once in a while, he'll look at me and go, "Hey, Bob, you were kind of right." But
So you were a CBA champion, right, Mitchell?
Yes. That was,
what was it like playing in the CBA?
Yeah.
I want to tell you this, it was probably one of the most fun times I had playing basketball. So this is how it happened.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd gotten released by the Indiana Pacers. I had a guaranteed contract, so I was making money. I was sitting home, and Dana and David Pump, the Pump brothers, they're pretty well known in the sports world. They called me up and said, "Hey man, Billy Bano's coaching at Yakima. You should go up and play with him, man. Fred Benson is up there, who's an assistant coach now at New Orleans Pelicans, and they've got a couple of other guys, but they need some help." So I said, I looked on the map, I saw where it was. I was like, okay, I'll go up. Went up in Yakima, this little small town, probably not too far from Gonzaga and Washington State. It's on the easternmost part of the state of Washington. So I go up and we're playing, and I'm like, okay, we need a little help. So my buddy Derek Martin played with me at UCLA. He wasn't.
I love Derek.
So I called Derek. Derek says, okay. He comes up to play, and then Derek realizes we only have one big, so he calls Anthony Pig Miller. Pig Miller comes up and plays with us. So we've got all these guys that are probably 28, 29, 30. We're in like the prime of our basketball. And we just start walking through the teams. And we go up against Dakota, which had Yeager, who has been coaching in the league. He was their head coach. And, he had dominated Bano earlier in the season, just smashing them. And then we ended up playing them in the finals and we won. And it was fun. We had a good time. We stayed in this little extended stay motel in Yakima, and the people there were fantastic. There were people who would make cookies for us before every game and things like that. I mean, great basketball town, great people, and probably one of the most fun times I've had, playing basketball.
That's amazing. And all the years you were playing NBA, CBA, collegiately, what were the places you on the road were your favorite places to play, and what were the ones you didn't like?
Well, I always played in the cold weather states. I could never get to Phoenix, to Los Angeles, to any of
Uh,
the
yeah.
Texas teams.
That's what you get for
So
playing for UCLA.
I know, right? I'm like,
You had to pay the price after.
I
Yeah.
did play in Portland, but it rained a lot in Portland, and Portland was fun and cool.
You
But
play with
whenever
Scottie Pippen, right?
I was with Pippen in one of my stints at Portland. I was in Portland on two different stints. I was there in '97, and then I came back. I think it was 01, 02.
Uh-huh.
So there were two different stints. But probably the most fun was, going to places like Phoenix, Miami. Just the weather in itself just made it really nice. I'd go into the room, drop my bags down, and I just go outside and just start walking.
Sure.
Being in DC and Cleveland, you just can't do that for probably 2/3
Of
of
the
your season
season.
or 3/4 of your season. Yeah,
Right,
the weather
right.
just doesn't permit.
Right. What was your favorite team of all of them to play on?
I really did love the Cleveland teams. I thought, I thought Mike Fratello was a very fair coach.
Yeah, he was.
He was very fair. So, a lot of my coaches, took out their anger on guys like me at the end of the bench when they were mad at their superstars. Like,
Right.
say it to them.
Right.
Don't say it to me. Like, if I make a mistake, don't make my mistake seem like it's 10 times worse than
Right.
the 10 that they make that you don't say anything about. Like,
Right.
that's what I didn't like. And I always said to myself, if I became a coach, I would coach hard from the top down. You got to coach hard from the top down. Now,
fair to everybody.
in Phil Jackson's case, which I truly love, Phil Jackson coached very well from 4 to 10. 4 to 10 on his team. He coached very well.
Okay.
He almost knew for a fact what I'm going to get from player 1, 2, and 3. I can go in and I can write those things on the board. I'm going to get 30 points from Mike. I'm going to get 6 rebounds, 6, 6, 6. I'm going to get 18 to 20 points from Scotty, and I'm going to get 7 and 7 from him. I'm going to get 4 points from Dennis Rodman, and I'm going to get 20 rebounds, and I'm going to get 3 block shots. That's already given. Now I got to coach 4 through 10, and if I can get those guys to play up to that level, now I've got a winning recipe. And if you look at Jerry Sloan, he did the same thing. If you look at Popovich did the same thing. If you look at Pat Riley, he did the same thing.
Right.
It is the 4 through 10 guys that are the most important guys in your team, because you can pencil in what your top 3 guys are going to get, and they're going to be there for at least 75 out of the 82 nights. They're going to be there for you.
That's right, because the stars are going to be the stars. Just have a nice game, guys. And exactly. they're always going to. It's the other guys. Yeah. You need, and especially on the road, you need the bench and to really step up, because
just in general,
in general, but I think on the road too, because at home it's always easier for the bench, don't you think? A little bit, just you're more familiar.
Home and away doesn't really matter. Some guys play better away. They feel like the pressure is off, or they feel like they're the enemy, and they play better under that type of duress than being at home and you're the darling and you're the favorite and you're supposed to do this because these rims and so it doesn't really matter. I always say, if you look at your champions have someone that comes off the bench that's pretty amazing. Steve Kerr did it for the Celtics. Vinnie Johnson did it for the
Bulls.
Detroit Pistons.
Yeah.
You can go. Andre Iguodala did it for Golden State. You can go down the line of guys that you weren't expecting. Sam Cassell for the Houston Rockets. Like, they just show up. They show up and they're big for you. And those are the guys that get you over the hump. Yes, when you start talking about championship caliber teams, last year, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope was amazing for the Lakers in the finals. He was amazing for the Lakers in the finals.
Yeah,
he showed up. And
there's always one guy. You're right.
Yes. Outside of your top guys are going to be there. They're going to be there all the time. You need help in that supporting cast. And to me, the great coaches know how to activate, manipulate, and get those guys to play at their highest level that they can reach. It isn't going to be what your superstars can get to, but it's going to be the highest level that they can reach. And when you do that, then you're maximizing your team. And that's the problem that you see with bad teams, And, as an agent, sometimes I have these conversations with general managers, directors of player personnel, assistant GMs, and I say, listen, I've seen it up close. And if I were a general manager and I was running a team, I would be expressing it to my coach. Hey, listen, your top guys, what they're going to get. you got to coach 4 through 10 in a different kind of way. You gotta lift those guys up. You can get those guys playing consistently. You're going to be in games every single night, and you're going to win your fair share of those guys every single night.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, Coach Wooden did it. Auerbach did it with the Celtics years ago. I mean, I remember one year in 1976, Boston needed one more shooter, so they got Charlie Scott, who was like a one-on-one type player. He didn't really like to share the ball, and Auerbach pulled him aside and said, "You don't do that here. We play as a team, and if you don't do that, then you're not going to be here very long." And he went out there and played great, and we won the title in '76.
Yeah.
And he
I
was
think
great.
Popovich does it the most now.
Yeah.
When he realizes he's got something, he builds around that, and then he coaches
Sure.
4 through 10 at just a different level. And it's fun to watch coaches that understand that and get that because they have a team. Steve Kerr came in and he did a great job building off of what Mark Jackson did up there. He coached well into his bench. Sean Livingston, Andre Iguodala, Kevon Looney, JaVale McGee. He coached well into that bench to get those guys to elevate and play up. Same thing in Toronto with those guys. It was your core guys, but you had guys coming off the bench that were just adding supreme value to the game, and that just deflates the other team because you're just not expecting it. You're expecting those guys to come in and just play this little small role. When your bench can come in and elevate, it's a really good thing.
I remember. Sorry, Bob.
Go ahead, Rob.
No, I was just going to say my favorite NBA team is the Orlando Magic, and I was just going to ask you, what is a downtrodden franchise like that and the other ones? Why do they always seem to be at a disadvantage, and what can they do to break through?
Well, what really hurt Orlando was the Shaquille O'Neal thing set them back a bunch.
Oh yeah.
You talk about it. It was just, you almost felt like the league set them up so that they could have some success because I think they ended up getting, was it back-to-back number ones? I know they ended up getting Dwight there.
That's Dwight, and they made it back to the finals.
Yeah, and they made it back to the finals, and then you lose Dwight. What you have to do is you have to have a core person. The organization is a fantastically run organization, first of all. And I don't know if the DeVos family still owns and runs it, but they were incredible during my day when they were running the organization. That was another city that I loved to just visit and an arena I love to play in. But they have to find a core person, and then you have to build around that core person. And Orlando could be a destination place for some players. They wouldn't mind going to Orlando and playing there. Places like Milwaukee, Indiana, Minnesota, it's hard for them to pluck a free agent, a prime free agent in free agency. They have to overpay to get someone to come into their market. Orlando shouldn't necessarily have to do that. So they just have to build from a core standpoint. You have to find that anchor. And once you find that anchor, you got to put great key pieces around it. They've had talent, but they fall into that same category of, not having one or two. Well, they have their 1-2 guys that can do it, but the rest of the guys don't elevate and play their way up.
Mm-hmm. You know what, Mitchell? I want to say the first time San Antonio won, I think it was '99. It was kind of a strike season type thing.
Yes.
And they needed a backup, so they called the Knicks and got Nasir Muhammad for, I think it was Malik Rose. And the Knicks got off the phone like, "Oh, we got away with a steal." And Popovich got off the phone like, "We're gonna win. We're gonna win it all." And they did. He played so great. So you do have to have those backups. You're so right.
I think that that's the key to coaching. To me, is you've got to have strong bench play. Your starters, your superstars. This is how I always liken it. Your superstars are going to be there for you 78 out of 82 nights a year.
Sure.
They're not going to have those down. Superstars, true superstars are going to be there.
Yeah.
Your stars are going to be there, 66, 67 times out of 82 games a year. Mm-hmm. Your good players are going to be there, 60 out of the 82 nights. And then your average players are probably going to be there somewhere between 40 to 50 times a year. You can get those average players playing up to good players level, good players playing up to star levels playing up to superstar levels. Your superstars are just that superstars. Now you got something. But that's how you got to do it. And it's all psychological.
Yeah, the game is.
Yeah, guys, everybody comes to the NBA with a toolbox with great skills in it, and
Right.
everyone can play. If
Right.
you can give the last guy on any bench 30 minutes a night and freedom to play, and he's going to average 20 points a game.
Right.
It's just, you need the time. So what you have to do is you have to coach them to whatever time they get. I remember a great story that Joe Dumars told Richard Hamilton when they started to stack that team. That Detroit team was really stacked.
Yeah.
And, they wanted to bring the minutes down. So Larry Brown wanted to bring his minutes down. Rip went in and he talked. He was mad. He was talking to Joe and he was like, I can't believe he's going to bring my minutes down. I'm only playing, 36 minutes a night. And Rip was always in great shape, could run for days. Just, I don't want to play 32 minutes a night. And Joe Dumars looked at him and said, hey, just give me what you give me in 36 and 32. That's all I'm going to do.
Right.
Whatever you do in 36, you just give it to me in 32.
That's it.
You have the freedom to go and do that. So it's just having guys play their way up the ladder and the freedom to feel like they can play their way up the ladder. Then you still do have to coach. You don't want guys just out there running amok and acting crazy. But if you coach, like I said, 4 through 10, you're going to have a successful team. You'll be at the top part of your conference.
Right. My brother says this too, and I do too. Like a lot of these players, they'll just run around and don't think. But if you really think, you can think your way out of any problem on the court, and you need to be smart, confident, and that destroys the fear in you. And then you can succeed at anything you do. I mean, you really can.
I'm going to tell you this: success is contagious, and then bad play is contagious.
Yeah,
you can almost see it when you watch the bad teams. One person shoots a bad shot, then the next person comes down and shoot a bad, and then the next person, and then it's a ripple because everyone's like, "Well, I need to shoot." You look at Phoenix. Phoenix is a good team, very good team.
They are
played well.
Yeah, they
So as someone, sorry, go ahead.
And I was just going to say, Chris Paul comes in, and Chris Paul says, "Okay, you guys were good. I'm gonna make you guys great because I'm going to orchestrate this. I'm going to tell the bass when the bass needs to come up. I'm going to tell the treble, the tenor when it needs to come down. I'm going to tell the alto when to raise and when to he's just he's doing everything that needs to be done, and he's taken a good team and he's made a good team now great."
Right. Okay, Rob, do you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, what is a basketball player's greatest kryptonite? Is it fear? Is it doubt, frustration, fatigue? I mean, what is the downfall of an individual's play?
That's a great question. And I personally think it's doubt. And I tell all of my clients this. You could have one little grain of doubt, like a little salt grain.
Yeah.
And it will pollute your body like cancer.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you guys a great story. I played with Gilbert Arenas. Gilbert Arenas is the best basketball player I've ever played. I played with Scottie Pippen. I played with
the ball. Let me tell you.
I played with Chris Webber, Juwan Howard. Gilbert Arenas was different. He was wired different. And I remember I played a year with him, and then I came back and coached. And I remember one night he calls me. It's like 1 o'clock in the morning. It's like, "I can't sleep, man. Let's go over to the gym." And I'm like, "Gil, really?" He's like, "Yeah, meet me over there." Drive over there. He's there. We set up the gun, and he just starts shooting. And he's just working on form and technique.
Right. That's what it is.
He probably shoots 500 jump shots. And I'm like, wow, this dude's a machine. Yeah. Then at the end of the workout, he starts taking the ball in one hand and he's just shooting it and stepping back from the middle of the court. And he's at half court. He's just shooting it with one hand and boom, he's making them. I'm like, oh my gosh.
One-handed half-court shots, money.
One-handed half-court shots. So we get in the game the next day. He dribbles past half court, raises up and shoots. Misses it. It doesn't look at the bench, just backs up, continues playing the game. And I'm saying to myself, oh my gosh, this dude is crazy. 4 or 5 plays later, he comes across half court again, one dribble, pulls up, goes right in. And I'm like, that's it. Like, he has no doubts, no fears about any of this. Kobe was the same way. Kobe practiced a left-hand jumper. He's gonna shoot a left. I saw this up when we went to the gym, we're working out. He shoot a left-hand jumpers. I'm sitting at home watching the game, and when I think it was with the Cleveland Cavaliers, and no one's around him. He pulls up and he just shoots a left-hand jumper. No one around him. And you're like these guys are wired differently. So doubt can absolutely ruin a person's game, and it doesn't take that much. You can lie to yourself. You can look at yourself and say, I'm great. I'm great. I'm great. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that.
You know what, Mitchell?
That one little grain of doubt.
What you don't know is I played basketball every day for years. From 18 years old till now. I can't move anymore, but I was a shooter, and I used to be so good. Ed O'Bannon said this about me. It's the best shot I've ever seen. I was practicing one day when the team was practicing.
He don't miss. The man doesn't miss.
And that's exactly
you. I can vouch for that.
I understand what you're saying because, and I've told Rob this before, you get to the point where you practice it by yourself. And then you institute it slowly in games. And once you start making it, you get so confident. It doesn't matter what the other guy thinks he's going to do to stop me. I know exactly what I'm going to do. So you're not going to stop me. I know where I'm going to stand. I know how I'm going to, fake, how I'm going to release it. You're not going to get it. And that's it. I know exactly where I want. I don't even look at the defender. I just look on the ground and go, this is the spot I want to be in when I want to release it. And I don't even care that you're standing there or how big you are. I really don't. And that is totally true. It's the total confidence in what you're doing. You work on it first and then you implement it. And once you start doing it, the fear goes away and you could just beat anybody on any given day. That is true.
Yeah. But I can take it one step farther than that. You like to see a shot go in. There are some players that just have uber confidence.
Yeah.
And when you believe that way, it's going to go in. I like to tell people this. We're computer programs. We're computers.
Right.
When we see the basket, that information goes into our eyes and immediately sets our body up to do what it's supposed to do.
Right.
We already know as a basketball player, when you put in, let's say you put in your 10,000 hours practicing and, at this level, when you get to college, you should be able to take the information into your eyes and your body's already set with the proper thing to do.
Right.
The only thing that we do is mess it up. We start thinking, we start messing with the tools of what's already in us and programmed. Yeah. So if I'm at the free throw line, I look at the free throw.
You can psych yourself out.
Dribble, set, and I look at the free throw line. That information is in program. All I got to do is just do what my body is being told to do. But something else will creep in: doubt, fear, anxiety.
Right. You stop yourself. It's inside.
And it messes with the program. I'm a golfer now. And when I stand over the ball and I'm just, I look at the ball and I look at the fairway and I take the club back and I swing, boom, I'm down the middle every time. When I start saying, okay, there's a little trouble out there, I got to do this, and I'm messing with the information that comes in, I change the whole swing up. I go exactly where I don't want to go.
Exactly.
So it is, it's amazing. And the great ones, I've studied and I've watched a bunch. Those guys, they just trust the information that comes into their body and they let their body do it.
And the pressure never phases them at all. They actually kind of welcome it. It's how they handle it. And that's right. Like I heard Reggie Miller say this. He said, the game slows down in my mind, which is interesting because when I used to play, I used to go, oh, he's here. Oh, my guy's open over there. There you go. No, the game slows down in your mind. And that's how you succeed. You don't worry about nobody else. You just got to worry about what you got to do.
Yeah, that's another phenomenon you always hear about. The game, as you play and get more experience, the game slows down.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It slows down. I don't know if it necessarily slows down as much as you just see the game. You see the second and the third steps that are going to happen. So when Tom Brady drops back in the pocket and he already knows where the break is coming from and he lays the ball out before the break even happens.
Right.
It's boom. It's just a trusting. You just see, okay, I know that he's in the 9th step and on the 10th step, he's going to break and he just releases it. And the ball is already there. Same thing on the basketball court. When I'm dribbling towards you, I already know that, I see the move that he's going to come up and cut back door, and I'm ready to just lay it down. Those guys are seeing. It isn't that the game necessarily slows down as much as they just see play 2, play 3, play 4 ahead. And most other players can only see the moment.
Yeah, it's playing chess. I mean, you do see 3 or 4 moves ahead, depending on what
exactly.
You do. Yeah.
Exactly. It's chess.
Yeah, it's chess. But I was able to do once you are so confident, you never worry about anything once you get to that point and you just know, well, this is what I have to do. Oh, he's trying to stop me throwing this pass. I'll just wait for him to, move a little bit and I'll just throw it to the open hand it's really simple. It's really
so how
simple
you doing, Mitchell? Are there things you got to tend to, or do we have a few more minutes?
We got a few more minutes. Yeah, I do have a hard stop at 10 o'clock my time. I'm on the East Coast with you guys. I'm going to go to lunch with my partner. here, but
Great.
this has been great.
Oh,
Fantastic.
thank you. Hey,
Yeah,
Mitchell,
no, thanks for coming on.
please,
Yeah,
yes.
thank
And if you can bring all your friends on, please do. Anybody. I mean,
Yeah,
like we're trying to build this show. So
Yeah, I'll swing the information along to all my UCLA guys. I'll swing it along to Pooh Richardson, Trevor Wilson, Derek Martin, Gerald
Yeah.
Mackins, all of the guys that I'm in contact with, Toby Bailey, um, and see if, they'll come on the show and join you.
yeah. How about
He-
Scotty? You played with him. Can you get him on for me?
Pip,
Yeah.
Pip.
I haven't spoken to Pip in a while, although his son was going to Sierra Canyon, which was not too far from my house. And I haven't seen or spoken to Pip in a while. So although he's been spotted around LA a bit, if I bump into him, I'll definitely bring it up.
Please do. That'd be so great.
Yeah, yeah,
That would
for
help
sure,
us so much.
for
So,
sure.
so you really love doing this, huh? The agents.
I do. It's a different day for me every day.
Yeah.
And like I said, I was stuck in Groundhog Day from middle school, probably elementary school, all the way through the end of my playing career and the year working with the Washington Wizards in the front office and on the coaching staff. It was just, it was a humdrum. And, the last 15 years working as an agent, every day brings a different challenge.
That's awesome.
Now, you mentioned earlier in the talk, everything interconnected and one domino falling affects the whole system. So in your experience as an agent, can you recollect a time where that did happen, where a domino fell and then the whole system got hit?
On the agency side?
Yeah, be it a shoe company pulling a contract or a last minute deal. I don't know. Anything that comes to mind.
Gilbert was stuck in a situation where there was an understanding that if he had made the All-Star team, that they would tear up his Adidas deal and restructure and do the deal, and it wasn't reduced to writing. And, that domino effect had an adverse effect on, obviously Gilbert, on the relationship with Adidas, and a whole host of, other things with the agent and the agency. So, but when I talk about that, I think interconnectivity of things, if you don't understand that, you're not really getting the full picture and the scope of things. It's just like looking at insurance and saying insurance is just insurance. No, insurance touches every industry out there. All of us. It touches auto, it touches life, it touches businesses, it touches so many different things. So, it's not just the idea of insurance. It's all of the industry, all of the other places that it touches. People have to insure themselves, and it's the same way when you look at sport. Sport is interconnected with so many different dominoes that if one really goes down hard, it could almost drag the other ones down and with it. If the NFL and the NBA and Major League Baseball all went away, this pandemic just went on for years.
Oh, yeah.
It would decimate so many industries. You saw how it affected Under Armour. Under Armour had to pull out of their deals with UCLA. It just, it's tough.
Speaking of UCLA, I'm pulling for you guys. A lot of people, no one expected UCLA to beat Michigan, and once they took control of the game, they owned the game. So I'm hoping the same thing happens and you guys shock the world and just get another title. I don't want any of these other schools getting their first title. then they join the club of Syracuse. I don't want that.
Right. It would be, this would be the equivalent of, I don't even know what you would call the biggest upset. Is it Buster Douglas over Mike Tyson? Is it, this would be the greatest, biggest upset of all time.
Well, how about this one?
Let's hope it happens.
The term upset actually was from a horse race. The horse originally in the 1920s was named Upset. He beat Man of War by like 30 lengths. And ever since that time, the term upset is used when that is true. That is true. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's a good piece of trivia.
Yes, sir.
But Mitchell, you have an open invite anytime.
Appreciate you guys so much, man. Really do.
It was great having you.
Coming on. Thank you.
All right, guys. I appreciate it too, man.
And please bring everybody on.
We'll get them on. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Stay peaceful.
Okay, you guys be good, man. Thanks.
You too.
Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Current sports agent, UCLA player, Elite Eight contender, Mitchell Butler, folks.
What do you think?
Pretty good, wasn't it, Bob?
Pretty good.
I think it was good. Stay tuned. Any closing thoughts, Bob?
Share it to everybody you know. Just keep watching. We're trying to do a fun show with a lot of big names and just make them feel at home. And we want you to feel at home too. And we want you to love us. So
View, like, and subscribe, folks.